we saw the new Fantastic Four movie.
I think it was really well written.
Galactus is coming to destroy the planet.
There was one moment where I was like, wow, that was touching and meaningful and, better than I would have expected from Marvel, especially from Disney in 2025. Hello, welcome to the Pop Culture Contrarian podcast with Thomas, Sterling, and Andrew.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Today, we saw the new Fantastic Four movie, and our podcast is First Steps. Is it fantastic or a failure? We'll let you know. But first, go check out patriotpostshop.com and buy this lovely t-shirt, The Truth Will Set You Free. Go check out the patriotpost.us and subscribe to our free daily newsletter. Comes out every day at noon, Monday through Friday. You'll be up to date on the news from a conservative point of view. Go do that. And now we're going to get started. Andrew, what do you think? Tell us about Fantastic Four First Steps, just your general thoughts.
The storyline was very smooth to me. It was, there have been other films that we've reviewed in recent months where the storyline has just been all over the place. So one of the things I really liked about this film was how straightforward and naturally flowing it felt. Yeah. I also really liked the retro vibes. I know that's kind of comes with the territory for this particular story. 1960s space race kind of retro vibes, but also at the same time futuristic was just fun. It was aesthetically pleasing. It was easy to follow. It was entertaining, but it wasn't overly heady. So definitely like a fun film.
Yeah. Thomas?
Yeah, I will concur with Andrew on this. It was very much easy to follow, entertaining, moved at a good steady pace. The action wasn't over the top. One of my, some people really love lots of action and fighting. It can get excessive in my mind, and this film did a good job of kind of not going too far with it, giving you just enough, making it interesting enough in that sense. But the plot and story drove this movie.
Yeah.
And I thought character development was good. I mean, the way in which they introduced the character's backstory was done well, creatively. It's not unique necessarily. I think we've seen some other films that kind of use the same concept to do it. But overall, I thought it was successful.
Yeah, at the opening, there's kind of a Johnny Carson-like figure. There's a better 60s reference, but Johnny Carson is as good as I'm going to do. But he's explaining basically who these people are to his TV audience.
Famous around the world, please welcome the Fantastic Four.
So that's how you get to learn about them, as the movie audience, which was, a little bit meta, but it works.
Yeah.
I liked this movie. I thought it was pretty good. I agree with y'all. It flows quite well. It doesn't burden itself too much. You mentioned, Thomas, that you don't love when there's too much action.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think the line is not necessarily amount of action, but it's whether the action is interesting to watch or boring to watch. Frequently, action can be boring to watch. But like a movie like Captain America: Winter Soldier has lots of action, but it's all very interesting to watch. This one nails it. It doesn't try to be the most action-y of all action movies. It has some pretty good set pieces, but like a lot of this movie, there's basically no fight. I mean, there's 2 fights, I guess, in this movie, maybe 3 if you want to stretch. It's just not a big fight movie, but you don't mind. I think it's a good movie, lots of cool powers. The retro thing is fun. One thing I was really excited to see in this movie is, for the first time, because the 2007 Fantastic Four sequel does not count, Galactus has made his appearance on the big screen. That's really exciting for anyone who follows the Marvel comics. He is the big guy with the horned helmet, and he is the world devourer, and that's what he does, is he shows up and says, hey, I'm going to eat your planet now, and then he eats your planet.
Well, that is something I'm pretty certain you wouldn't see every day.
And he's really cool. People really like him. What'd y'all think of Galactus?
Because he's your favorite, right?
Yeah, I like eating planets, it's a hobby.
His excuse for why he does what he does, he has this insatiable hunger that eating planets is just his effort to try to satiate what he knows he cannot satiate, which is a theme or an element, I guess, of the story. It seems very simplistic, but maybe in a way it's very insightful, an element of human nature.
There is in the comics, and they're setting it up in the MCU, so I think they're going to play it straight. There's this idea that Galactus is the necessary entropy to the universe.
Positively necessary.
Things have to decay, things have to be broken down so new things can rise, and that's his role, is he comes in and he eats the old, and then new things can rise. In the comics, it gets really weird. The lore, he actually pre-exists the universe. He's from the previous universe, because that's how this works, apparently. And then you have these characters, Celestials, who appear in the Eternals movie, and they make new galaxies and stars and planets. And so they're kind of Galactus is the yin, and they're the yang. Galactus and the Celestials.
That's an interesting point. The MCU, as far as I understand it, has embraced this kind of multiverse. And we are in 828.
Yes, for this movie.
So is Galactus confined to each universe? So is there a Galactus in each universe, or does he move between the different multiverses?
Yeah, I'll answer this one, and then we got to jump to Andrew. But online, the thing that's been rumored, but I've seen people debating both sides of this, is that maybe Galactus has no variants. Maybe Galactus is just Galactus in all universes. Right. And so the one that's defeated in this movie is the same one who could conceivably show up in the main MCU universe later on down the line. There's reason to believe that based on the comics. But again, it's comics. Things can be really wishy-washy any way you want them to be. Sometimes he has no variants, I guess, but other times I think maybe he does. I'm not sure about that one. Andrew, what do you think about Galactus?
Just my personal take, and in some ways it's in line with the official take, but really I see him as a Satan figure.
Yeah.
Particularly by how he operates and what happens to his servants is pretty interesting, in particular the Silver Surfer. Mm-hmm. What he offers them is almost like you have a compromise, like he blackmails you into something or tricks you into something. He can't create anything, but he just takes and devours things. So while he's not perfectly analogous with a Satan figure, I kind of view him as having a kindred to that.
Galactus is a really big boulder that's rolling down the hill, and everything you've ever cared about is down the hill, and he is going to crush it. And all you can do is divert him for now, and then he'll show back up later. Your point about the Silver Surfer kind of deflecting him from her home planet, that's a little bit of a spoiler, sorry. We do spoiler reviews here. That's what we do. That doesn't actually save her home planet. It saves it for a long time. But it's not like he made a deal. It was, he got something out of it. And so he's like, okay, I could eat this planet or I could eat that planet. I don't care which one I'm eating. But there's definitely some Satan aspects to him. Yeah.
I do think he's used to present kind of a scenario where those who are faced with him are kind of stuck between two bad choices, you could say.
Yeah.
And kind of it's either save yourself or sacrifice something to save yourself and your planet or something like that. It's kind of an untenable scenario that the characters are put into when they face him. So I do think that's interesting. And if you want to take it like you're doing with him as a satanic figure, presenting the temptation to Christ, right? If you bow and worship me, then I will give you the whole, earth and everything. There's this kind of element to that in it, you could see.
Galactus has his herald, and you meet her in this movie, and he has various heralds in the comics, but in this movie, it's the Silver Surfer in this movie. And the Silver Surfer has crazy awesome powers, like faster than light travel, can move through anything, ridiculously strong, just really cool powers. So you do get that, but most Silver Surfers don't want it. They'd rather not have the power instead. But at least, hey, if I'm going to serve Galactus, at least I get the power.
So, and that is interesting because Galactus is the one who gives that power.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting element to it because the scenario that she was presented with, she was just, you could say, just like a normal human being.
Yeah. I mean, she was a normal alien being. Yep.
So, I mean, along the lines of the Silver Surfer, I know there was controversy early on when they showed early clips from this film, and the Silver Surfer, who is presented in most comics, from my understanding, as male, although that's not there are instances of the female Silver Surfer, but most of them are male. So there was controversy immediately that, it's female Silver Surfer.
I know you were kind of dismayed about that.
I was a little confused as what's this going to be about? Is this going to be another kind of woke element that Disney just seemed to be so, captured by? But it really actually works well in the film, and the multiverse is an element now of the MCU. So that allows for you to explain away a lot of changes.
Yeah, because this is, as we said, Universe 828. The main line set of movies, starting with the first Iron Man movie, is, I don't know why they did this, but they named it 616, and I can go on a big long rant about why they shouldn't have called it 616, but I won't.
What do you think they should have called it?
1,999,999.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a real answer to this, and it's a good answer, but I'm going to move on. So in this universe, right off the bat, they say this is Earth 828. So it's like, okay, rules don't have to be the same. But also on the Silver Surfer, it's a different character. They're both the Silver Surfer, but the one you're thinking of, the guy who's in the 2007 movie, is Norrin Radd.
I am not the Destroyer.
And he is a guy who basically, made the same deal. He sold his soul to Galactus in exchange for this superpower. And now he is the Herald of Galactus, going around telling planets, Galactus is going to come eat you now. I don't know why he needs a herald, except to give them a chance to defeat him. But apparently he does. And so that's what Silver Surfers do. But this is not Norrin Radd. This is a whole different character. This is Shala Bal.
Your planet is now marked for death. Your world will be consumed by the Devourer. There is nothing you can do to stop him.
I think in the original comics was a lover of Norrin Radd on her home planet. And then she's the one who got the power instead of him. But she was always a variant. She was always from a different
she's
universe.
Not the Silver Surfer. Yeah.
Right.
I do think, as far as the movie goes in depicting her, the way in which the surfer moved on the surfboard as if on waves looked very realistic in that sense. And I don't know how easy that would be to try to just recreate on a soundstage, but maybe.
Yeah. So we've kind of naturally moved to our second part of this, which is our just some observations, things we really enjoyed about this movie. Andrew, anything you want to jump in with?
The theme of child sacrifice, in the case of a living child, the obvious, we're going to save the child. We're going to do everything we can do to save the child. And you have this huge, whatever the god of child sacrifice is in the ancient world.
Moloch or Baal.
It almost feels like that's Moloch. Yeah, that's right. It almost feels like you could assign that story in its place. And that's like give me your child in exchange for your life and your civilization's life. Because that's the same human experience of those ancient civilizations that they practiced.
You could say it's the experience of this civilization.
Well, I think so. I think that's why it's relevant. And also worth mentioning and considering that, audiences would be horrified if the Fantastic Four just gave Franklin up to Galactus. For the audience that's thoughtful and discerning, consider that with your modern day observations with children who have not yet been born. Additionally, not that it necessarily means anything, but I found it interesting that they specifically used a synagogue. The world is facing almost certain death. They're gathering in this place, and it's like a place of refuge. So I found that kind of interesting, especially in a moment where there seems to be a lot of anti-Semitism in the world.
Yeah, that was interesting, Andrew. I didn't know. I noticed it, of course, but I didn't put that together. That was an interesting choice, certainly. I had a couple things I noticed. One, the big elephant in the room is this is the first time the Fantastic Four, as all four of them, have appeared in an MCU movie. It's very exciting if you're an MCU guy. In one way or another, I think the MCU now has access to all of the characters from Marvel Comics now, which has been a very long time coming. I guess they still technically don't have access to certain Spider-Man villains. But other than that, they have everything. The other thing is we mentioned Franklin Richards. That's the kind of the core of this movie is Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman have a child, and she's pregnant at the start of the movie.
Are you pregnant?
What? You're gonna be the best mom in the world.
The whole Fantastic Four, who are shown as a family, can't give up a member of their family. Obviously, they can't. But they're also the defenders of Earth who have to protect Earth from cosmic threats, and Galactus is very much a cosmic threat. So it is an interesting question. I think I'll touch on that point a little bit later. And then the other thing is Franklin Richards himself. So I wondered what y'all thought about this, the things Galactus says about Franklin, and maybe without getting too spoilery, some of the things about Franklin. Did y'all have any thoughts about that? Was it notable, or was it just like, oh, this is the thing they're doing with this character?
There was definitely shades of a Christ-like figure in how they talked about him, especially Galactus. I mean, he's like, this is the one most powerful being that can actually end his torment of his unsatiable hunger. Clearly a very powerful being.
But you weren't like, why is this child of a stretchy guy and an invisible woman this super ridiculously powerful being? That wasn't a question on your mind?
Well, I mean, they kind of addressed it in the way of saying how they got their powers. And they got their powers through this experience of gamma radiation or whatever in space. Cosmic rays, cosmic rays. In space. And since they're two superpower people, passing on that genetics kind of makes sense.
Okay. Andrew?
Is that somehow a way Galactus came to being? Is this unlikely joining of, or like augmentation of the power? That's kind of what it seems to be, is like, of course, it's one unlikely event of the gamma radiation creating these super powerful beings, but then it's almost augmented by those two beings coming together, as you said, Thomas. So how rare is that really? Is this like a super duper rare event that can only happen under perfect circumstances?
In the comics, Franklin Richards genuinely is just, aside from Galactus himself and like the Celestials and Eternity, who you meet in Thor: Love and Thunder, Franklin Richards is probably the most powerful character the MCU has introduced, and he's a baby.
Yeah.
And I just thought that's funny because he's genuinely has, there's no other word for it, godlike powers. That's what Franklin Richards has. And he can do just about anything. And yeah, there is a connection to Galactus where people have said he is basically doomed to the same fate as Galactus, where Galactus is from a previous universe and he survived it, and somehow that made him into what he is, and Franklin is going to have the same thing happen to him at the end of this universe, that universe, I suppose. To a power scaling comic nerd, Franklin is a very cool character to introduce, and I wondered how general audiences would react, and seems like the movie just set it up well enough that it wasn't even really a big sticking point for y'all, which is, I think that's a sign of it being well executed.
As far as some of the themes in regards to Franklin, this movie was refreshing in that it didn't, and maybe they felt they could do it because this is Earth 828 and not Earth 161 or 616. I guess in Earth 828 there is no woke, and so there was no talk about, when they knew early on that what his sex was and talked about him as a male when he's in the womb, and that he's a human being in the womb. Yeah. There was no, this was very pro-life, I would say, movie, in many ways, more than just Franklin and concerns about him.
The whole mother-son dynamic is intense, and mother-child dynamic in general across the movie.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like you said, Andrew, this kind of throwback to this 50s/60s Americana world.
Yeah.
And all the kind of things that are most, nostalgic about that era are kind of like brought into this world and then, upgraded with tech. But it still kind of feels like that era. It didn't feel like a dirty world with a bunch of hobos and drug addicts and stuff like that, which you definitely felt, throwing back to the movie that came out before this one, with the Thunderbolts. Mm-hmm. That one felt like very much like our world, kind of,
Tough choices, gray,
a lot more grays, less black and whites. This was a black and white universe.
Yeah, stop
Most
the world
definitely.
eating monster from eating the world.
Yes.
No one's going to complain about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you kind of laid it out, but you want to give your woke-free score?
Yeah, I gave it 8. I mean, I was toying about maybe giving it like a 9. Maybe there's a couple little niggly things here and there, but yeah, overall it's pretty much not much there.
I gave it a 9. I think Thomas laid out the reasons really well. I'll just add that, yeah, they really hit a pretty pro-life message, as you were saying earlier, and that's fantastic. They address an unborn child as a human being, the value of family, and it's not even one of this wishy-washy found family things. It's a husband and wife, a brother-in-law, and a best friend. Like this is a close-knit family, and then they've all, been mutated, and so now they're even more connected by that. Really well done. There's no racial quotas obvious in the movie, in the casting. It just seems like they cast the people who made sense in the roles.
I would say one element that was a little bit kind of ridiculous. The entire world gets together to build these special towers to be able to try to transport the planet away from its current location. And everybody's like everywhere across the world is involved in this. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's a little bit, that's a push for me.
They do a little bit of setup for that, but yeah,
Yes.
it's still a big reach. Andrew?
Gave it a 9 as well, for all the reasons that I previously stated and for the reasons you guys have said. So I won't go further into that and restate what we already have.
All right, well, then you jump off on IQ, well written.
I gave it a 7, and it just flowed well. It made a whole lot of sense. I probably could have even given it an 8, but I gave it a 7. There were a few things like Thomas mentioned, kind of far-fetched, the whole world coming together thing, but it is also a superhero movie, so it's not like it's real. Very black and white, very easy to watch, but it wasn't super duper corny. It wasn't like corn pop, there was an element of seriousness to it. I think it was really well written.
Yeah, I also gave it a 7 on well written. I was a little bit torn. I was going to put 6, and I was like, 6 means workmanlike. It's like effective. It does its job. For the record, when I think of a 10 on well written, I'd probably think of something like Gladiator. I think that is just so well written. It has no wasted moments. This movie is not on that level, but it's quite good. There was one moment where I was like, wow, that was touching and meaningful and, better than I would have expected from Marvel, especially or from Disney in 2025. But, maybe they're trying to earn some trust back. But the moment is when the citizens of Earth know that Galactus has asked for Franklin Richards in order to not eat Earth, and that the Fantastic Four said, no, you can't do that. And so Galactus is coming to eat Earth, and the citizens are panicking and freaking out, and there's a crowd protesting outside the Baxter Building, which is their headquarters. And Sue Storm walks out with her baby, Franklin Richards, and she walks up and she just introduces him and says, this is my baby. He's Franklin Richards, and then she gives some of her backstory, how she and her brother were raised and how her mom used to say, I'll move heaven and earth to keep you safe. And I thought it was a really well done scene, and you can see the crowd turn from almost hostile, ready to go take the baby by force to, we can't possibly take this baby. It's a baby. And then she ends with, I will not sacrifice the earth for my baby, but I also will not sacrifice, I will not sacrifice my baby for the earth, but I also will not sacrifice the earth for my baby. And then they all cheer. And I thought it was a really good moment. I was very impressed.
I gave it 7 as well. Similar rationale. Pacing's good. Character development's good. Galactus is coming to destroy the planet. And I'm thinking, okay, what does that remind me of in our world? Well, of course, it's the whole climate change stuff. And if everybody would just get together, we could save the planet. If everybody goes green kind of thing. It wasn't heavy-handed and wasn't even necessarily directly pointing at that. But there was an element I was kind of thinking, yeah, okay. But beyond that, yeah, the writing I thought was good, 7.
Just in Galactus's defense, I think he pre-exists the climate change panic. So I don't think you can blame.
Yeah, by billions of years. If you,
No,
according to him.
I meant just in the Marvel comics. I think he pre-exists.
No, I know. I'm just thinking of thematic kind of things where the world comes together to fight some planet-threatening thing.
Right. Thomas, you want to hit artistic value?
Yeah, I gave it a 7. I thought it was good. I think I was most impressed with the way in which they were kind of showing some elements of the race away or to get away from Galactus when the Silver Surfer's chasing them through hyperspace. That was done really interestingly and well. I thought that was really fun to watch.
That was definitely a cool scene. I liked that. I liked Galactus feels humongous. He just feels like he's ridiculously big, which he should. Galactus should never, ever feel small, and he does not. I really liked Sue Storm's force field powers, the way they do that. It's kind of because she has force fields and you can just do that invisibly, which is kind of how the comics do it. They show you something, but it's meant to be invisible. But in this, they kind of have it look like she's using light itself as the force field, which it's really cool. It has a little rainbow effect. I thought it was interesting to look at. And then there was one scene where the Human Torch is chasing the Silver Surfer, and he pulls up to her, and you can see his face reflected in her face.
Yeah,
and that was pretty cool because at first you're like, "What's wrong with her face?" Oh, it's his face, And a cool visual moment. CGI can only go so far, but eventually maybe they'll learn. Hey, you can put artistic moments back in the CGI, and they're starting to.
Yeah,
good Andrew.
Point.
I gave it a 7. Also thought the CGI was great. I thought that the scale was great. I thought that the space travel stuff was really interesting as well. So yeah, I gave it a 7.
Entertainment value, I liked this. I thought it was quite entertaining. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I would love to give it more. I feel like Marvel used to score higher with me, thinking about walking out of the theater even fairly recently with after Shang-Chi, which was 2021. I was like thinking about scenes from that movie hours later. With this one, by the time I was in the car, I was on something else. Maybe that's just because I'm getting older. Maybe that's because these movies are number 37 or 38 in the universe. I don't know. Doesn't hit as hard, but 7 is quite good. It was very entertaining. I was not bored, and it's definitely not too long. So yeah, 7.
I give it a 7 as well, for a lot of the same reasons. Interestingly, in my mind, the most exciting moment was in the credits.
Oh yeah?
That almost had that so much intrigue suddenly in the way they did it. I was like, that is really, really interesting. Just because I don't know any of the comic book lore or anything.
Oh, you didn't know who that was?
No, I didn't know any of it. So from a perspective of somebody who doesn't know this stuff, not to say the movie isn't interesting or entertaining, it certainly is, but a 7.
So that made you excited for the sequel?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, they're going somewhere with this. I think, just on the side, I was trying to get used to this whole 1960s world, 50s, 60s world, and the way in which I know the director who directed this also did WandaVision, and so you can clearly see that element in here. It's very, very, very similar to that. Understanding that, okay, what does it mean by this is Earth 828? And you got to kind of suspend your, like, when is this going to feel like more like real Earth? Well, it's not.
Okay, Andrew, address entertainment, and then I'll address that end credit scene real quick, since Thomas doesn't know who that was.
Don't spoil it for me. Keep me in the dark.
It's not a spoiler. This is not meant to be a spoiler.
Entertainment was 8. Again, pacing was fantastic. It was not a whole lot of crazy themes trying to figure out who's doing what. It was just the right amount of action versus regular dialogue. Just overall, a really easy and engaging film, and so I gave it an 8.
There's a scene near the beginning of the movie where you see the UN, and there's an empty, you see the America, and then it pans to a couple other nations. There's an empty nation there, and it says Latveria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
And that's a hint at because when you think of the Fantastic Four, there's one main Fantastic Four villain. Galactus is a close second, but there's one main Fantastic Four villain, and it's Victor Von Doom.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Okay. All right. Well,
I told you
it's not
I
a
don't-
spoiler for you.
Yeah, I told you I don't know
But
who.
yeah, Victor Von Doom is not in this movie. Just if you're a comics reader, he's not in this movie. There's hints of him. Anyhow, that's all I'll say out of deference to Thomas here. But I think it was a good choice because he's the main villain in the first movie from 2005, and he's still a villain in the sequel in 2007, and then he's the villain in the 2015 one as well. And this one, he's barely there, which I think was the right choice. Legacy, I gave it a 6.5 on Legacy because it's trying to set up kind of a new phase of the MCU. We'll see how they do, but it is the first time Fantastic Four have been in the MCU, and it's the first time Galactus is on screen for real. So I think that's going to give it a decent legacy for sure.
I gave it a 6. I do think it's well done. I don't know. I mean, this is a 37th MCU film. What phase are we in with the MCU?
I think maybe 6. I'm not sure.
And this is kind of early in that phase, right?
I think right at the beginning.
Okay. So we'll see where it goes from here, I guess.
I gave it a 7. I think, you mentioned before Sterling, this is the first time in a film, or at least recently, that we've seen them all 4 together. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, I think it holds a little bit more weight in the legacy. And that's kind of the main differentiator, I think, that gives it a bit higher on the legacy score.
All right, just want to clarify something for anyone who's as nitpicky as me. 616 is the MCU universe now. In Multiverse of Madness, you meet Mr. Fantastic in Universe 838. And so I was like, why did they choose the same universe? But it's not the same universe. Multiverse of Madness, they went to 838. This one is 828. So for you nitpicky nerds like me, there you go. I did the homework for you. All right, our total scores, guys. I gave it a 7.3 averaged out. Thomas, you gave it a 7.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew, you gave it a 7.6, which makes the PopCon official average real easy. 7.3. Pretty good. I guess we can round that up to a 7.5 if you want.
Yeah, so we scored this a little better than Superman, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I do think it was better flow than Superman.
I liked it better than Superman.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I liked it better than Superman or not, but I apparently did, judging by my rating. So that's pretty much it. We're the Pop Culture Contrarian. This has been our episode, First Steps. Is it fantastic or a failure, guys? It was, I guess, fantastic.
Fantastic-ish.
We're brought to you by The Patriot Post. The Patriot Post is the oldest conservative news digest on the web. It's right and it's free. Go check us out on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so you know when we upload a new video. Leave us a comment or send us an email at staff@patriotpost.us. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what we should talk about. We're probably going to be doing some more politics here soon, so get ready for that. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.